Hey guys, so there's a question from 6.3 homework which looked like something like this. It says sine of negative 27 degrees divided by cosine of 387 degrees plus tangent of 207 degrees. To be honest with you, I had to look this up as well because it's not as obvious as we think. Like, if it were like sine of pi or cosine of pi plus tangent of pi, that would be easy, right? So before I dig into how to solve this, I need to review you guys on even and odd functions and trig identities. Okay. Alright, so even and odd functions. So it means if you have a function f of x and you plug in negative x, what you get out is f of x. So in other words, plugging in a negative variable does not affect the function. That would be an even function. But if you plug in a negative variable, it will come out as the negative of your original function. For example, if you look at f of x as x squared and you plug in negative x into the function, you get x squared still, right? So it doesn't change. This is still f of x. So that's why we call it even. Okay? And then let's say g of x is x cubed, and then you plug in negative x. We know that if the exponent is odd, the negative will stay there, right? Because negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, this is positive, but this is still negative, right? So negative x cubed, in other words, this is negative g of x. So that's why we call it odd. Alright, this will come in handy later on. Excuse the background noise because I'm in a public place. Some trig identities. So the most important one that you need to know is this one here. Sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals to 1. So you pretty much only need to memorize this, because to gain these ones, it's from this main formula here. As you can see, if I divided sine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta, so all of them divided by cosine squared theta, that's how I get tangent squared theta, and cosine squared theta divided by itself is 1 over cosine squared theta, that's secant squared theta. Alright. And again, like cotangent squared theta, it would be me dividing all of these by sine squared theta. So this becomes cotangent, this becomes 1, this becomes cosecant squared theta. That's why I want you guys to know this one, at least. If you can memorize the other ones, but if you're lazy like me, memorize that one only. Alright, so let's get back to this. So there's no way that I can know on the top of my head what sine of negative 27 degrees is, right? And I don't like I said before, I don't like having a negative angle inside, so I'd like to deal with positive angle most of the time. So what can I do to this negative angle so that I have a positive angle inside? Go back to the idea of even and odd function. This will help me out here. So hold on. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so what you need to know as well, I didn't add this here. Let me add it here. Okay, so we're gonna have odd and even trig functions. So I won't prove this, but you need to know that the only even functions are cosine and secant, and the other ones like sine, tangent, cosecant, and cotangent are all odd. In other words, the only functions, if I plug in a negative number in, I will get a positive still is cosine and secant. So I would just memorize this. Just say like the only even functions are cosine and secant. And you don't have to memorize it. You can just like plug it in, plug in cosine of negative pi, right? And then it's the same thing as cosine of pi. Okay, so here, that's gonna help us because remember, the only even functions are cosine and secant, so that means sine of negative 27 is the same thing as negative sine of positive 27 degrees. Alright, so what are we going to do with that? Again, we could shorten this, right? You see sine and sine over cosine, you immediately think about tangent, right? So yes, we could turn it into tangent, but the degree inside are not the same. So we have to modify a lot of things here. So 387 degrees, what we're going to do here first is we're going to subtract 387 degrees minus 360. So in other words, cosine of 387 degrees is just, we went the full circle, and it's actually cosine of 27 degrees. So it's the same thing, okay? Which is convenient for us. So that means this is negative sine 27. This is cosine 27. And we know that this is going to be negative tangent 27 degrees, right? Which is fabulous. Okay. Awesome. So let's see with the tangent there. So the tangent here, it didn't go for the full circle, but we can say it went half of a circle. Okay. So this is tangent of 207 minus 180. So this is the same thing as tangent of 27 degrees. So in other words, tangent of 207 degrees is the same thing as tangent 27 degrees, right? Okay. So again, that's very convenient for us. That means we can combine them together. Negative tangent 27 plus tangent 27 is 0. There you are. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, if the angles are different, you either subtract it by 360 or 180. Okay? Alright, see y'all in class.